Hello and welcome to Patched. I'm your host, Paul James. Today I'm joined by Matto Phillips. Happy birthday, mate.
Oh, thank you. I'm full of cake.
Yeah, so what have you done? What'd you get up to? We've had a delayed
Wow.
start to the show tonight. What birthday festivities were there on a Sunday night?
On Sunday night, just nothing special, just a bit of birthday dinner, just
Bit of family
time, and then cake. Oh man, the old Viennetta ice cream cake.
Oh, you went Viennetta. I haven't thought.
It's always
I haven't
that is
thought about Viennetta in a while.
That's always the birthday tradition with us. It's either Viennetta ice cream or Freddo cake. They're the only two choices we go with. Nothing else.
Yeah, righto. That's.
Or if times get desperate, Cole's cake, mud cake.
Oh yeah, chocolate mud. Oh, well, that always works to treat the chocolate mud. Well, it sounds like you had yourself a good evening then.
Yeah. I'll say good thing we're not talking about JRPGs, because otherwise I'll be asleep in about 30 seconds.
Instead, we're talking about what's coming next for Nintendo. They are making a new console. They've now indicated that we're probably going to see it next year. It's not the whole Super Switch style thing. We're not getting, as in, the mid-gen upgrade sort of thing that people were hoping for. We're getting a full-blooded new console at some point. And so I guess we're just going to spend today discussing what we kind of want that to be. It may not necessarily be a long conversation. It could be a huge one. We'll just see where the conversation goes. We've been spending a bit of time with the Switch lately. You've been playing Pikmin 4. I reviewed Pikmin 4. There's plenty of good stuff still coming out to coming to the Switch. There's also games that aren't so good, like Zelda, that came out. Games that aren't Zelda, but
overrated.
Outside of name and name
overrated
alone.
Garbage, that game.
Still haven't played. Neither have you played Tears of the Kingdom yet?
Of course not.
Yeah, neither.
I've got other games to play that are far more exciting than shitty Witcher 2.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll one of these days we'll have a conversation about Tears of the Kingdom, and who knows, we could be eating humble pie. But for now,
yes, foot in mouth technique.
Yeah,
I'm more than happy to say I'm wrong on it, but
I'm in no hurry to say that I'm wrong.
Absolutely no hurry to wait whatsoever.
So I guess, is there anything in particular you feel like is missing from the Switch now, or that you're looking at other consoles, you're looking at things like Steam Decks that exist, and ROG Allies and all those sorts of things that are all available now, in terms of, there's more and more manufacturers that are creating portable things again. Is there anything you want to see from your next Nintendo console that's kind of missing now?
I don't know. It's really a hard thing to say, because I'm not a type of person that usually uses it handheld, only if I'm at an airport waiting for a flight. But I think the only thing I would probably say is battery life.
That's a good one.
But that's always a tough one, considering it's a handheld device, and most handheld devices these days don't last.
Well, yeah, that's true. Like the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally still only last a few hours themselves. I think they last less time than a Switch. Now, admittedly, the Switch is not pushing as much as what those two machines are, but it's definitely
1080p.
It's definitely a tricky balancing act. And then so it boils down to kind of how high end do they want the platform to go, because the higher you go, the more processing power it's going to take, and the more it's going to drain that battery. So,
and the hotter it's going to get
it's going to
burn your hands whilst. Well, that's actually probably a good indicator, get off.
Well, yeah, it could be
too damn long. But also the amount of, I think Nintendo don't want all over the news that man burns hand on new console.
Yeah.
Or melts hand.
Yeah, you don't want that headline. No, you definitely don't want that headline.
Car catches fire. It's not a Samsung Galaxy back in the day where they just magically caught on fire. We don't want any of that.
So what would be a satisfactory battery duration for you then? Given what we know, like, this thing's obviously, this is not like a DS or a Game Boy where visual fidelity is kind of, whatever, doesn't really matter.
Especially Game Boy had no light whatsoever. You just got
no light as well.
One setting, and that was it. And
but even your Game Boy Advance that had your backlighting and those sorts of things built in. Well, all the SPs went. No, actually, SP is a bad example because it was a rechargeable battery. But like, any of those battery powered things, obviously it's a totally different beast entirely. But I guess in this kind of current climate, what's a satisfactory battery life for you?
Well, for me, it'd be, say, 10 to 12 hours. I know it's only like a little bit more, but it's not something where, like I said, you're at an airport or going on a flight, and you don't want your little backup battery charger thing that you have to get out of the vending machine, which costs you an absolute fortune if you're in an airport.
Yeah.
But it's also the same thing too. It's going to be one, a very expensive battery or a lithium battery, and no one's a big fan of lithium batteries these days because they just catch fire and stay on fire for
Yeah.
years.
So I was
But
just
that's
double
the
checking
problem.
now that the original Switch is like between 3 to 7. The OLED is between 4.5 to 9 hours apparently. But so yeah, I think I'm with you. Like if they can find a way to add another, I guess especially on the minimum end, like I can deal with 9 hours as a maximum potentially. But if the minimum can climb to like if there's a smaller gap between min and max, if that minimum drop came to 7 hours instead, I could probably deal. Um,
But with the new console, are they still going with the handheld?
I feel like they've struck
I'd,
gold with that, and others are trying to compete with them in that space. You know, we're seeing more PC handheld stuff where we're seeing the PlayStation Q Lite thing. You're seeing Xbox lean into remote play options.
cloud
So I
gaming
feel like
is
the industry's recognized that maybe we can't have like a dedicated handheld anymore, like a Game Boy or a DS or a Vita, but we can have alternate ways to play games in a handheld fashion. So Nintendo's got it best where they've got the console and remote hybrid, which obviously you have a sacrifice when it comes to the visuals. They'll improve because the technology around that has improved in the meantime. But yeah, what can they do to improve the battery life at the same time? And yeah, I feel like if they can get that minimum of 4.5 up to something like 6 to 7, I think you're ticking a lot of boxes there. And for me personally, like I actually spend the majority of my time playing the Switch in handheld. It's very much the sort of thing where, like, I mean, I can just kick back on the couch. Wife is watching a movie or a TV show, and I can just keep playing. And a lot of the games aren't so visually amazing that, in fact, sometimes they kind of look a little bit worse. I feel like they look a bit worse when they're up on the big screen than when they're on the handhelds. So, not because of processing power and those sort of things, but like it's just they're 1080p splashed across a 4K screen doesn't translate as well to something that's
no.
like it's yeah. That's kind of made for when you're looking at on the portable side of it, let alone the fact that it's a small screen, so you don't notice some of the flaws as much as well. So I thoroughly prefer playing my Switch OLED portably, and I guess that's another advantage too, is it's an OLED screen, but which perhaps links into the next point, which is reportedly this thing is going to have an LCD screen out the gate, not an OLED. So they're kind of taking a backward step straight out the gate.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I'm not thrilled about that. Like you found something that worked with the OLED, so why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you stick with that?
I would understand too because Bears coming out next year. You would think like TVs and that they go all fancy, Ultra HD, OLED, whatever that stuff is. And it seems to get cheaper over time. I don't know why you would go backwards unless they're going to make an even bigger screen, like your phones these days. They went from tiny phones to massive phones. They're back to tiny. Now they're going back to big again.
Yeah,
And
and now they're starting to fold them and flip them again, like the old
or
like the flip phones.
maybe we're going for another DS sort of thing here. Just gonna fold up.
So yeah, I'm not too sure about that either, unless it's going to be like a dual skew thing where there's kind of that, but it doesn't feel like a Nintendo thing to have like a high end version with the OLED screen and whatnot. I feel like that is a down the line we'll double dip because we know people are going to want to upgrade. They don't like their screen. They want to get the new flashy model, whatever. So here's the OLED and off you go. So yeah, look, I'm not thrilled about that path, but I guess that helps improve the battery life in a way.
It does, but people these days complain about two things: visuals and frame rate. No, no one cares about anything else. That's the two key things. It's not, oh, is this game great? No, it's not. It's 30 frames a second. It's rubbish. Game of
Yeah,
the year? Nah, it's not 60 frames. Get out.
and they're consciously making a decision to sacrifice the visuals, which I think these days, especially the hardcore, are more willing to sacrifice visuals than frame rate. But yeah, I don't know. I don't quite understand the thinking there. It's a weird one.
It is. I don't understand it either. I scratch my head every time. We go back to the old days in the 90s, used to people get amazed at 20 frames a second and go, wow, look at these visuals. And you look back at them now and go, that looks like shit. For some, not all. You just look at it and go, wow, that hasn't aged well.
Yeah,
But See,
yeah,
we
the
didn't
whole
have
thing's
complaints with that. Like for the Game Boy, for instance, we had one brightness setting, nothing else. You had to buy a little add-on thing, or get your torch out,
yeah.
or
So you used to do that
find
as
the
well. Like
sunlight.
you'd have
Yeah,
the little light thing that would plug into the trading slot on the
yeah.
Game Boy to
Had a little
have the little
USB cord on the
curly.
side.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the stupidest thing ever. Or you had to get a torch, or don't play it in direct sunlight because you can't see the screen.
those were the
Silly
days.
idea. Those were the days. No,
Um,
everyone's too spoiled for choice now. Little shits.
Apparently, I'm just reading. So the VGC report that came out about it in the first place said they were looking to launch with an LCD screen instead of the more premium OLED in order to bring down costs, especially considering the increased storage for higher fidelity games. The current Switch comes with 32 gigs of internal memory, while many current blah 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 100 gig. Um,
Oh, that's another thing too.
it doesn't specify.
Storage.
Yeah, storage will be a thing. And I
Not
guess
just portable storage. Like you can have like, was it your main one, and then you got, hey, here's, you put your little card things in, which you can already do, but it is quite annoying having to switch over those cards every now and then after downloading like 10 games. It's just ridiculous.
I guess a lot of it probably boils down like if they go down a similar sort of model, it's what does it cost to get an SD card of a suitable size, like, and what is kind of a suitable size, and will the new console actually support one of that sort of size and memory? I mean, how like what's the capacity of some of these SD options are like
I mean,
that
an
must be
iPod had. Remember the iPods used to have 250 gig, and no complaints about that. Don't know why Nintendo can't do that. That's
like there
all that
there
does
are
is play music.
there are 2 terabyte micro SD cards now, which I'm pretty sure it's micro SD that the Switch takes. So and they go
Two
for $20,
2 terabytes.
which I'm sure can't be.
That's not right. For $20. Nah,
Got,
that's
it's got to
counterfeit.
be. It's got to
That's
be. It's
that's
got to be
2 gigabytes. Can't be.
Um,
That's
256. The Nintendo authorized one 256 gig is $50 now on Amazon. Yeah, it feels like there's something dodgy about that. But of course, it is an eBay listing, so
oh, there we go. That makes perfect sense now. It is not 200 terabytes, or
yeah.
it is
And
2 gigabytes. He's looking hard.
I'm just looking to see what some of the capacities are. I mean, certainly there are terabyte ones. Like there's SanDisk, yeah, they've got 1 terabyte ones, yeah, and they go for nearly $200. So like the price of that kind of needs to come down a little bit. But I mean, there's 512 gig, and for most Nintendos, and that's like $88. So I feel like it's just that internal one that is 32 at the moment. If they can lift that to north of 100 to begin with,
The old standard
maybe even 200,
128. Yeah,
and then go
because
from there.
then it's big enough for you to not worry about. Because that's the problem these days. Like you download like 10 games, you go, oh well, I can't fit any more on. And if I download 2 games,
Yeah,
it sucks.
it buys you a little bit of time. I'm just checking to see what like a 256 gig one costs at the moment. Oh no, that's what I checked. It was like $50 or thereabouts, which is a pretty reasonable amount to kind of be built. To Nintendo would then get that cheaper, like in terms of they're doing it all in bulk. It's also built in memory as opposed to external insert stuff. So, I feel like at least 256 is a good starting point. If they can push it beyond that, even better. But yeah, that's kind of the capacity side of it. Clearly, though, based on the report, it's still going to be that Nintendo Switch style portable model. Like this really could end up just being the Super Switch, even though we're not getting a mid-gen upgrade. It's just they're sticking, which is kind of un-Nintendo like in this day and age, where they tend to change ideas all the time. It does seem like this is just the Switch 2 in a lot of ways.
I think they've just stopped taking risks now, because we started off the GameCube. It wasn't terrible, but they weren't just there were no competition for Xbox or the PS2. So they thought, you know what? Let's go motion sensors. We got
Yeah.
the Wii, outsold the other two pretty much combined. And then they thought, let's go one better and do the Wii U, and that was not one better. That was
One was
not the greatest, but that led into the Switch, which is what we got now. It's just they took out all the gimmicky rubbish that the Wii U did and just made it a console.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that was half the problem with with the Wii and the Wii U's, just sort of like gimmicky movements and all that. It was good. The Wii was good, but when it came to the Wii U and you had to move that screen around and all that, I just thought
they lost the plot a bit.
I can't do this. This is just silly.
The games at least were solid on the Wii U, but no one ever really played them because no one ever bought a Wii U. It was a shitty console. I guess the other part of the situation at the moment in terms of what we know is that they are apparently targeting the second half of next year for the launch, so they're not going with that kind of March window like they did last time around. If that's the case, what do you reckon they're going to launch with? And what should they launch with?
Well, let's say, what have they got? There'd probably be a Super Mario game in there for sure.
Yeah, I think 3D Mario, right?
Or 3D Mario, or the next Mario, because definitely not going to be Zelda's, because that's out.
Well, we've also got like a 2D Mario coming the same day as Spider-Man.
Oh yes,
Mario Wonder. So I think, and that's 2D. So I think 3D Mario. It's been, 2017 was when Odyssey came out.
Yeah, it's long overdue.
So it feels like maybe
I don't know where they go from Odyssey.
they did that Bowser's Fury
Sunshine.
spin-off, and like that feels like a template that could potentially work, where it's kind of open world in a way, but not. Like that could be an option. You can still spin off and have your different worlds and those sort of things you go to, but there's a central hub world that has something engaging about it, whatever in the first place, that kind of keeps you navigating, exploring. That could be the pathway they go there. But yeah, I think they've got to kick off with a 3D Mario. Sakurai started talking recently about the future of Smash again, which is interesting. Mario Kart's 8's DLC is still rolling out, but you can't imagine that as the full team, so maybe Mario Kart 9 is not too far away.
They've got to do completely new tracks there. They've run out.
They've
got nothing now.
It's been 10 years since Mario Kart 8 came out.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was 2013 or was it 2014?
Wow.
Maybe by the time it comes out, it'll be Mario Kart.
Oh man, that is a long time. What about the deluxe? Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Wii U. It came
out on the Wii
2014.
U.
The Wii, it was a Wii U game. That's why it was deluxe on the Switch.
Okay, that makes sense now. It
came out in 2014, so it'll be a 10-year-old game by the time at least the 9th one comes out.
It's a 10-year-old game. They're still putting DLC out for it instead of making a Mario Kart.
Well, they didn't do DLC on the Wii U version. They put it on the Switch to get it the sales numbers that it deserved, and then it exploded. And they thought, we better do some more here. So they started adding DLC.
Let's make a mobile game that everyone will buy, and no one wanted it.
Well, and then so they started porting all those and turning them into tracks for deluxe. So very well played, Nintendo. But it's also time to get a new one out. So, I guess the one of the interesting games in the mix with all of this is, where does Metroid Prime 4 fit into it? Because they're still calling it a Switch game.
Ooh.
Does that straddle the generation in the end? Does that become like a Twilight Princess or something like that, or Breath of the Wild, where it's hopefully not Breath of the Wild in quality, but where it sits on the generation line and it actually comes out for the Switch and the Switch 2 or whatever?
That is a high possibility. I completely forgot about Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
Or they just go Metroid Prime 2 is available for both Switch and the new one. Like, no, we want 4. Give me 4.
Yeah,
it's been so long since so long.
Yeah, it's been a long time since that initial announcement, and then everything's come since. So I don't know. That's a hard one to kind of work out. I'm not super sure about that, but yeah, I guess you've got that. You've got Mario 3D. You've got Smash Brothers. You've got Mario Kart. Like, they've already got irons in the fire that can and games that are absolutely due to start rolling out again, like that next wave of stuff.
And one other game they can do, when they can do it with their Nintendo Switch Online, or then they can switch it over to whatever new one is and bring in Donkey Kong 64.
Oh yes.
Or GameCube. They'll start bringing the GameCube library onto that.
Nintendo Switch Online would be huge if they can do that, especially if there's a new platform with increased memory. That'd be great.
Ooh, the expansion pack and all.
Yeah, I mean, they can add it to whatever they can have. Expansion pack. Whatever their model is. I mean, it's still super cheap anyway, so that's not going to be too much of an obstacle for people. But yeah, okay, like it's obviously not the technical side of it that's going to allow them to put GameCube games on it, but because there's presumably going to be more memory in it, that's an opportunity for them to absolutely go, okay, GameCube, go for it. Here you go. It's 3-4 gig at a time on top of everything else. No big deal. Yeah. It's kind of no big deal now, but like one GameCube game at 3 to 4 gig or whatever it might be does consume more than 10% of your internal memory on the Switch. So I can kind of get the hesitance a little bit now, but no excuse come next gen. So and the fact that it's all linked to an account now, which means that account comes straight across. They'll launch with that retro library straight away. That's going to be awesome for them as well. Especially if it's kind of quiet out the gate and they go, okay, well fine, like we've got Mario, we've got this, we've got that. Now what do we do at month 6 when those AAA games have all come out and we've got less to say? Let's just drop a whole bunch of retro classics on people and keep them going, keep them invested. So there's some strategic stuff they can pull there, and they've set themselves up well because of what they've done with the Switch. Anything else you want to see from a new console at all?
I think it's only a very small thing, but loading times.
Yeah.
I know they're not that bad on the Switch, but I think there's some games where I don't know if it's because I'm just getting impatient now because
it can take a while.
Because the PlayStation 5, there's pretty much next to no loading times whatsoever. Yeah. But
and sometimes they actually make the loading time longer just so you can actually read the stuff that's on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes Horizon Forbidden West is pretty much instant. Even Ratchet and Clank, same thing. It's just almost instant. God of War Ragnarok's pretty close to instant. It's just a couple of seconds. But at the same time, it is no Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto 5 loading time. So it's not a 5-minute wait. It's just maybe a 30-second wait.
Yeah, but if they can cut that back, it'd be handy.
Oh, it would be, yeah.
I'm with you on that. And then there's the other side of it is, kind of the visual bar. I feel like they need to hit at least the PS4, Xbox One visual standard.
Yeah,
which again kind of links back to I think it links back then to the battery and all those sorts of things. Like what can you do if the game is kind of being benchmarked at this sort of in terms of this sort of horsepower? Then what can you do? And then that kind of influences the battery problem. But I think probably as a minimum they need to kind of hit that sort of level. And I think people will be okay with that. It's going to be less power.
Are we going PS4 Pro likes, or we just go with regular PS4 visuals? Jet engine or non-jet engine?
PS4 Pro without the jet engine? I don't know. I mean, that'd be nice.
There we go.
But yeah, I'm not too. I guess I hadn't gone that specific. I mean, the reality is they're still putting and we had the news this week about Star Wars Jedi Survivors being ported backwards to the PS4 and Xbox One now. So
that is an odd thing to say. When they said, "Oh, we do it for PS4," and like, why?
Yeah,
it is a bit of a head scratcher because
and we've seen other games do it too. Hogwarts was another example.
But it's not. I can understand it going back to the original sort of PS4 and Xbox One launches because they weren't that great and everyone was sort of a bit skeptical on purchasing it because it was quite expensive and people was like, I'll stick with my PS3, thanks. I paid $1,000 for this machinery. I'm not getting rid of it now.
Yeah. Good times. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird, tricky spot. And I guess what would be the amount, as maybe the final question there, what would be the amount of money you'd be willing to spend on a new Nintendo platform? What's your max, do you reckon? Without even knowing, of course, what it's going to be.
But I think because we know things are getting more expensive these days, you look at the Xbox Series X and the PS5, they're expensive. Well, they've come down a little bit, but still, it's like 800, 900. I'd be willing to pay around 800 if it's a high quality. But if it's a shitty screen, drop that down to 600.
Yeah, I think 600 is kind of my number at the moment. I think the original Switch launched at about 470. Now, obviously, there's inflation and those sort of things now, and I don't know what that would convert to. I guess 6 years on, but off the top of my head, anyway, I'm sure I could look it up. But yeah, I think 600 is kind of right, especially if they're not going to go OLED straight out the gate. Then they've made some technical sacrifices. It's going to be what I expect will probably be kind of PS4.
It also depends on memory capacity as well.
Yeah.
That'll also be a big factor too, because I think memory capacity and frame rate. No, not really frame rate. No, I don't care about the frame rate side of things. As long as it works and doesn't set my hands on fire, we're all good. And also have a docking station where you can use, where other people could use the docking station and doesn't kill your Switch.
Well, that too. That'd be kind of cool.
As someone on this panel has had encounters with.
Yeah. Good times.
Here's the clue: it wasn't me.
Just for what it's worth, the Switch from like its $470 price or whatever it was in 2017 converts to $582 now with inflation. So if they kind of
that's like the old model though. Then they brought out a sort of slightly newer model with a bit of better battery life. Then they went with was it the OLED after that? That's about the same.
Yeah, and then
price.
OLED. Yeah, I think it was like low 500, 550 maybe.
About that.
I think it's 550. I
Give or
don't know.
take.
Thank you Nintendo very much for sending me one. I don't have that perspective, so try and double check really quickly. They're going for 450 right now.
Yeah, they're on sale. They're going absolute. They must be just doing an absolute
hang on,
fire
that's
sale, just trying to get rid of it.
Sorry, no, that was pre-owned. 550 for Nintendo Switch OLED now.
Still,
So,
fire sale.
yeah.
They're just clearing out stock. There must be a new OLED coming up just to get those suckers to buy
one
them all.
for Mario RPG.
Oh yes.
So yeah, that's the situation. Any other thoughts at all?
VR.
Oh, you can strap it to your head.
No, you know those stupid cardboard things they used to make? I don't know
Labo?
if they're Labo. Yeah, you can just get the Labo kit out again. Just have one for VR.
Question:
No
will
one's
we see Labo next gen?
Oh, of course.
Oh.
People would be stupid enough to buy that.
I
shit
figured that was
again.
going to be a resounding no, and I would have completely agreed with you. But we'll see what happens.
If Nintendo looked on their last one, going, people are dumb enough to buy a cardboard box and just go right with some cutting down and go right. They'll buy this. So you look at it and go, that's the stupidest thing ever. It's like, what was a piano? Look, that's the stupidest thing ever. I would totally buy that. And after that, use it once and never again.
Yeah, no good reason to stick with that. But anyway, they put out Nintendo produced cardboard this generation, and it sold a little bit for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, they must have had a lot of cardboard hanging around going, right, what do we do with all this leftover cardboard?
Well, then when Labo wasn't selling, they then put it in the Mario Kart, the physical Mario Kart track thing. You can then create the course yourself.
Really? Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
So
about
they did
that.
put out a Mario Kart this generation. There we go. Anyway,
yeah, just make your own course. That's pretty much how well it's
make
been
your
going.
own Mario
I
Kart.
guarantee you, when Mario Kart 9 comes out, people are going to look at the courses and go, "Hang on a second,
They look
That's
so
my
fast
course."
on the screen, and then you look over the top of your screen, you see them coasting around on your carpet, and it's nothing. But they look so fast on the screen. We'll wrap things up for this episode of Patch. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Visit the website, player2.net.au. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/player2au. Kicking a few bucks, lower tiers, early access, higher tiers, monthly episode exclusives. Matto, X?
Tumblr. No, it's not Tumblr. That's
Tumblr.
Tumblr. No, Thread. That's the other one.
Threads.
With T.
Threads.
That's the one. Matto_Phil. Not Tumblr. Tumblr. I forgot about Tumblr. It's a stupid
Is it
site
dead?
anyway. Tumblr. It was almost got revived when Twitter went to shit. Then everyone thought, no, this is rubbish. It went back to what was known as Twitter. Then went to Hive. Then back to Twitter. Then to Threads. Then back to Twitter. Then X.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on there. It's an absolute mess. Paul James Games for myself. The website's player2au. And until next week, where I think, if I've got my calendar right, we might be doing some Gamescom predictions. Maybe that week or the week after. I've got to double check.
Yes.
Got to double check what Keely's date is. It might be the following week. But anyway, they're coming up. Stay tuned for that. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next week. Happy birthday, Matto.
Cake.